One of the things that really interests me about Japanese releases is the translations that they use for some of the song titles. You might think that's fairly straightforward. A song such as The Girl Next Door, well, you just take the words for The Girl Next Door in Japanese and use those words as the title. And indeed, they often did do that for song titles. So, for example, Take Me to the Fair is exactly the same in Japanese. 20 Days and 20 Nights is exactly the same in Japanese. But they actually used a couple of other techniques to translate the song titles into Japanese. Some song titles are actually quite difficult to translate. The second technique that they would use is take the English words and rewrite them in Japanese sounds. So, for example, White Christmas is Howaito Christmas in Japanese. You also have Blue Suede Shoes or Woku Amairu in My Shoes. So it's quite clear what those song titles are, but they're just said or written in Japanese phonetics using Japanese sounds. The third technique that they use is the most interesting one. It's what you might call interpretive translation. And what that is taking the sense of a song and translating that sense into the second language, in this case, Japanese. So I'm going to be talking about a few of those in this video. And I'll also tell you about another strategy that they use when translating songs into Japanese. There's one particular word that they used in at least 24 songs, and that word wasn't in the original title. Same word. Can you guess what that word is? And you might think, well, that's impossible. There's thousands of words in the English language. But when you think about the type of songs that Elvis sang, it's not actually so difficult. I'll talk about that a little bit later. So, okay, let me tell you about the first interesting title. Indescribably Blue. If you think about what that means, it just means extremely sad, right? And there are lots of ways to say that in Japanese, but for whatever reason, they didn't use a title like Indescribably Blue. They actually called the song Blue Tears in Japanese, which is quite poetic. I do quite like that one. Let's have a look at another one. I Met Her Today. As native English speakers, when we see a title like I Met Her Today, we don't start wondering about who she is. You know, who did he meet? Did he meet, was it his old school teacher? Was it his local MP? No, we know because it's an Elvis song that we're going to find out who this woman is, and it's probably going to be a love song, right? It's either a new lover or it's going to be an old flame. And sure enough, it turns out to be a new lover. The Japanese title for the song, when you translate it back into English, is I Found a New Sweetheart. So you can see what they've done there is they've taken the sense of the song. It's a song about meeting a new lover, and use that as the title for the Japanese song. And I was wondering why they did that, and I guess it's because it's a foreign language, and on the artwork of Japanese records, they would print the English lyrics, but not the Japanese lyrics as a rule. So I guess titles like that will help Japanese people understand what the song is about as a whole. A similar one is I Think I'm Gonna Like It Here from Fun in Acapulco. Of course, we use that phrase a lot in English. We go somewhere and we immediately take a liking to it for some reason or another. And we say, I think I'm going to like it here. And in the song, so Elvis gives all the reasons why. No one seems to hurry. No one seems to worry. A chance of romance. Mission bells are ringing. Everybody's singing. I think I'm going to like it here. And what they called the song in Japanese was This Place is Paradise. So again, it's getting to the sense of the song as a whole and then using that sense as the translation and the translated title. I've got a couple of examples of songs that would have been really difficult to translate into Japanese. Just translating them word for word would have made little sense, I think, in Japanese. The first one is Finders, Keepers, Losers, Weepers. So in English, we English speakers, we use this phrase from a very young age. Everybody knows what it means. I was talking to my son about this yesterday. He's 17, and he doesn't really have any sense of what it means. You know, when you find something, you keep it. In Japan, if somebody, for example, finds something on the street, they would take it to the police station. They wouldn't put it in their pocket. So it's a different mindset. So you can't really translate the phrase finders, keepers, losers, weepers into Japanese because it wouldn't make any sense to a Japanese mind. So what they did with the translation is they took a line from the song and they used that and they based that line, they based their translation on that line, and the translation of the Japanese song title is You and I Will Be Together Forever. What is he singing that song now? I found you and your love so true and I'm keeping you forevermore, something like that. So the idea is that they will stay together forever. And the translators picked up on that line and used that as the basis for the Japanese title. Another really difficult one to translate would have been He's Your Uncle, Not Your Dad, from the Speedway movie. We all know as English speakers that uncle refers to Uncle Sam, America, of course. And the song is about, ostensibly it's about paying your taxes, but it's also about looking on the bright side. You have to pay Uncle Sam. He takes your money away from you, but at least you're living in America. You're not living in some horrible tin pot third world nation. So how could they translate that into Japanese? If you just translate it literally, he's your uncle, not your dad, it doesn't make any sense, or it would be a strange song title. And they came up with a really good translation for that. It actually translates back into English as Serving the Nation, which I think is a really good title. I'll just give you one more then. From the Harem Scarum soundtrack, we have Wisdom of the Ages. When you see a song title like that, you expect to hear some words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom, Lloyd. Words of wisdom.
And the words of wisdom that we get in the song are, live each day as if it were your last, and love while you may, but heed the hand of fate. I guess that's about as philosophical as it gets. And they've picked up on those lines, kind of, to use the Japanese translation. And that Japanese title translates back into English as don't miss this opportunity or take the chance, something like that. So those are just some of the more interesting song titles that they used, in Japanese song titles, and how I think they thought about the titles, what thinking they used to come up with those titles. So finally, the mystery word that appears in about 24 Japanese song titles, which is not in the original title, and the word is, have you guessed it? Have you guessed? Oh, that's a Beatles song, isn't it? Have you heard the word is love? So yeah, 24 songs or maybe more Japanese song titles have the word love in them that were not in the original song title. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll give you some examples. The song Am I Ready from the movie Spin Out, that in Japanese translates back into English as Am I Ready for Love? Trouble, that translates back into English as Love's Troubles or Love Troubles. Witchcraft translates back into English as Love's Magic. All Shook Up is Numbed by Love. And The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, bit of a mysterious one, this one, is Love in the Shadows. As I say, there's plenty more of those. And I've been spending a lot of time looking at the Japanese titles of songs because we are actually planning to include a Japanese index of songs in our book, Decker and myself. The book is going to be in English, but just at the end of the book we plan to include a Japanese index as well. So that's it. Yeah, if you're interested in any of the Japanese song titles, let me know and I'll tell you what they used for the title, if they used an interesting one. But that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching and take care. See you next time. Cheers. これから日本語でさっきのビデオの内容を説明させていただきます。今回は歌の日本語のタイトルの話ですね。要するに翻訳仕方。日本語のエルビスの曲のタイトル、面白いのはいっぱいありますね。で、翻訳仕方3つあると思います。エルビスの曲になると。1つ目はそのまま翻訳することですね。例えば、約束の地、監獄ロックとか。2つ目はカタカナを使います。ホワイトクリスマス。 ブルース・ウェル・シューズとか。で、一番面白いのは3つ目ですね。それは歌詞のセンスを日本語のタイトルとして使います。じゃあ、いくつかの例を挙げますね。一つ目は、青い涙。英語のタイトルは Indescribably Blue。つまり、非常に悲しいという意味ですね。もちろんそのままで大丈夫だったと思いますけど、青い涙の方が、なんか詩的ですね。詩みたいなもん。青い涙の方が非常に悲しいよりいいと思います。なかなかいい翻訳です。その次に、新しい恋人を見つけた。英語で I met her today という曲ですね。で、なぜ今日彼女に会ったとか、そういう、なんで直訳しないのかなと考えていました。で、新しい恋人を見つけたにすると、英語が、英語が苦手な日本人には、曲の内容分かりやすくなりますね。新しい恋人を見つけた。そういう歌か。レコードのジャケットに英語の歌詞があるとしても、読んでもピンとこない時もあるでしょう。そして、こういう分かりやすいタイトルにすると、日本人にはすごく役に立つと思います。で、次もそうですね。アカプルコの海の I think I'm gonna like it here というところです。それはね、よく使う、英語のネイティブがよく使う表現です。新しいところに行って、で、気に入ると思ったら、I think I'm gonna like it here とよく使います。よく言います。で、歌の中でエルビスは、なぜ自分に合いそうなところを歌いますね。説明します。誰も心配しないし、誰も急がないし、みんな歌ってるし、で、最終的に I think I'm gonna like it here と歌います。で、日本語、その歌のセンスは、ここは楽園ということですね。日本語のタイトルはここは楽園。で、新しい恋人を見つけたと同じように日本人に分かりやすいタイトルにしました。で、次の2つは、そのまま、つまり直訳するとなかなか、意味が通じないと思います。1つ目は Finders, Keepers, Losers, Weepers という曲ですね。それは、要するに、拾ったものは持ち主になる。つまり、道路かどこかで何かを拾ったら自分のものになる。日本人はそういうふうに考えないですね。道路で何かを拾ったら交番に行きますよね。でも外国人はそうしないです。例えば、5000円札を拾ったら自分のポケットに入れます。自分のものになる。Finders Keepers という意味ですね。で、Losers Weepers は負ける方は泣いちゃう。物をなくした人は泣いちゃう。で、子供の時からみんな知ってる表現ですね。Finders Keepers, Losers Weepers。特に子供が使う表現です。で、そのまま、翻訳できないので、ビクターの翻訳家は、君と僕はいつまでもにしました。で、やっぱり歌詞のセンスはその通りです。歌の中でエルビスは、I found you and your love so true and I'm keeping you forevermore. そうですね。君と僕はいつまでも一緒にいるみたいな歌詞ですね。で、もう一つの、なかなか翻訳しづらいタイトルは He's your uncle, not your dad. これスピードウェイの映画の曲ですね。直訳すると彼はお父さんじゃなくておじさんですみたいな、とってもおかしいタイトルになりますよね。で、何の歌かっていうと、要するに国に税金を払わなきゃいけないけど、我々はアメリカ人だから感謝しましょうみたいな意味ですよね。で、uncle は Uncle Sam の uncle です。つまりアメリカですね。で、日本語のタイトルはなかなか素晴らしいと思います。国家に奉仕というタイトル。なかなかいいタイトルだと思います。最近よく気がついたことなんですけど、ある言葉がよく日本語のタイトルに出るけど原版にない。その言葉は何でしょう？ 少なくとも24曲にあります。日本語のタイトルにあるけど、原版にはない。英語のタイトルにはない。エルビスはどういう曲を歌ったか、主にどういう曲を歌ったかというと、ラブソングでしたよね。そして、よく日本語のタイトルに出る言葉は愛。例えば、恋は OK。面白いタイトルですね。英語は Am I ready？ もう一つは恋のトラブル。英語で trouble。恋の魔術。witchcraft。恋に痺れて all shook up。で、最後に、この愛は面影の中に。The first time ever I saw your face。まだまだありますね。これからエルビスの日本版のガイドブックを出版しますけど、全部英語ですけど、最後に日本語の曲のタイトルのリストを入れようと考えています。だから最近よく日本語のタイトルを考えています。では、エルビスの歌のタイトルについて何かコメントや質問がありましたら、どうぞ聞いてください。ありがとうございました。